Welcome back to Daybreak Extra on Trust TV. Well, the show is still going on, and like we told you at the beginning of the show, we have two discussions on the program, and after the first one, now we're going to talk about child upbringing. Well, quite frankly, it's not easy, and both husband and wife have important roles to play in the home front, as to raise good children that will be useful to the family and, of course, society at large. Now, some parents have failed in their responsibilities to their children, and as long as parents do not play their roles adequately, these children could continue to deviate, and that is something that we all try to avoid. Now, it is the role of parents to take proper care of the child's home training by inculcating in him or her all the virtues that will put him or her on the right track. Now, we're looking at today, and this is in the light of recent incident at Christland International School, which we actually alluded to earlier with Darshan, and we're being joined in the show by an educationist, that's Mrs. Mardia Ojikutu, and an experienced business strategist and entrepreneur, Adana Mwezo, and they're right here in the studios, and we're going to discuss child upbringing, moral decadence, and a whole lot of other issues. So you're both welcome to the program.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure to be here.
Yes. All right. So let's start with you, Mrs. Mardia. The level of moral decay that we're witnessing right now is some can say it's unprecedented, because we have hardly heard of things like this before. You know, most especially with the recent one that we're currently talking about right now, with the video of the children doing, you know, God knows what. What can be attributed to this? Is it modernization? Is it parents not doing what they're supposed to do? Is it the internet? What can we attribute to this?
Thank you. Well, this is a very interesting topic, and I'll say that all of this will be traced back to parenting first.
Okay.
Before modernization or the internet or whatever, it begins from the home. It begins with the parents. So I would say that parenting is the first on the list.
Okay, so when you say parenting is the first on the list, what are those things that parents are actually supposed to do to instill, you know, morals in their kids that's not happening in our generation?
Okay, thank you. First, we need to understand that the family is the first school of every child, is the first home, and is the building block. And if anything goes wrong there, definitely the society can't get free, can't go scot-free. Now, what are the parents supposed to do? I think first, the parents themselves need to be educated on how to parent children. It might sound somehow, why do I need to learn how to parent my child? Why do I need to learn how to bring up my child? So many of the parents of today do not really understand what it means to raise the children of today, because we actually cannot raise children the way we were raised. These children are different from us. They're the 21st century children, and their ways and their approaches are different. The way we will categorize children of now is quite different from that. So the parents need to understand what are the different types and what are the different stages of children, and how do I handle children at these different stages. For instance, adolescence. There are three categories of adolescence. It's from age 10 to 19, and according to how it's defined by the World Health Organization, you have the first 3 years, which is the early adolescence, 10 to 13 years, the 13 to 16, and of course the 16 to 19. At these different stages, the children have different characters. They have different thinking abilities. All of the stages, you'll see that the children have adult body. They look like they're adults, but in their thinking, in their brain, it's different. So the parent needs to understand that at this point, although my child is an adolescent, is having an adult body, but the brain is the brain of a child. And that's where this Christland girl case comes in. The girl is just 10 years old. the girl looks just like an adult, but up there she's a child. And it means that something had gone wrong. Perhaps they were looking at her that, yes, she's old enough to be alone. She should be able to do some things alone. She should be able to make some decisions alone. But she's not in any way different from a child of 5 years old.
Okay, Adana, is there a narrow path to parenting?
Well, I think life has maybe narrowed it for some people. When she was speaking, I was just thinking about, back then when we were in our generation, our parents used to, the world hadn't changed this much. So people weren't carrying work on their head the way they're carrying it now in their careers and all that. There was, life was a bit fair, like in terms of, it was a bit balanced, and then we always probably had somebody around and, all of that. But now it's like everybody is out there on the streets, and there's just really little time to spend with your children, to really know what is going on. In fact, sometimes you look at the hair. When you go to schools and see the hairstyle on some of their hair, you're like, that mom is not even around. You can tell that there's something going wrong in this home. There was a girl that wore the same hair for a month in a school that, and I was just like, and I'm very big on hair and all of that, so those things get my attention, and I'm just like, there's so much wrong with this, but so I think, things like that have affected, unfortunately, parenting. And there was a time I worked in an organization, and there was this lady who had just had a baby, and baby was 2 months old, and she was more interested in getting recognized by the organization that we're working with, the office. She was more interested in putting herself out there in projects than actually being a mom. Because I remembered saying, "Where's your baby?" And she's like, "Oh, she's at home." I'm like, isn't she breastfeeding? Isn't she's like, "Oh, that she's now on like PAP and all that." At 2 months. I was heartbroken. Do you understand? At 2 months, I was like, because you are even here, we don't even need you. If you're not here, there's no problem. But you're just so, people are just driven by things that are so irrelevant. People, like someone said, you come to the world with nothing, you fight for everything and die with nothing. So why do you come here and fight for everything that's sometimes not even worth it? And then if you're leaving your child at 2 months, you can imagine the other things that will go wrong in that child's life. So like you said, everything starts from the home. It's
so
not,
basically people don't have time
they don't
for
have
the
time.
children now.
They don't have time. If you go and investigate, the girl's mom probably has shop in Alaba Market where she's importing and sending things everywhere. And you know how Lagos is. Again, you have to also know where you live and know that you have to put in more effort, because some people leave the house in the morning in Lagos and don't come back, at night. Like I heard, I haven't, I schooled there, but I'm in secondary school, and I was a boarder. So I can't really say the lifestyle of people that live there, but I've heard that it is not even funny because you spend most of your hours in traffic. So you have to be deliberate. You don't leave things to chance. You have to be very deliberate.
Also, it's easy for us to say the parents didn't do this, the parents need to do that, the home needs to be this. But we've heard this saying, it takes a village to raise a child. Larger society now, are we doing enough? Am I being a good neighbor if by keeping an eye on my neighbor's children? Do I do that?
I think the world has really, I just have to say this, because now you find uncles who are molesting, their nieces. You see brothers, little boys sleeping with their sisters. You see house helps taking advantage of the children. It's just a very messed up world, unfortunately.
So if I can't do it myself, and I can't trust somebody else to do it for me,
anybody.
So then,
even if you have to have cameras in your house, you have to do something.
So what do we do at the end of the day? Because I can't be there to do it on my own, because we just explained right now,
That's why I said,
there's no time.
You need
We're
to have
hustling,
cameras.
we're out there on the streets trying to put food on the table. And then I can't bring in somebody to do it for me because I don't trust that person to take care of my children. What do I do? Do I go hustling with them? Do I take them to go and hustle?
TV, right? But isn't
No, but
that
in
so?
most
We'll see.
cases, the deed would have already been done before, you know.
Before you can even see it.
On
No,
CCTV.
well, the thing is that, you know, things start gradually. You know what I mean? The thing is, see, mothers especially, they need to do a lot more with their girls. I mean, the guys too is very important because, of course, the girl in Chrisland didn't do it by herself, right? There were some boys who were doing stuff with her, and I have refused to see the video, so I can't. I'm just speaking based on what I've heard. And there was some that were recording it, you know. So obviously, the decay is not just with the girl child; it's also
with the
it's everybody. It's everybody. So while you're training the girl on how to be, they need to know their public and private parts from when they're 2. In fact, before they're 2, some children are very sharp. They're very intelligent. They start speaking from 1+. You know what I mean? So once you're able to communicate with them, you need to start letting them know certain things. This is your private, this is your public part, this is your public part, this is for anybody can see this but not touch this. You know what I mean? And this one is a no-go area. You know what I mean? So you have to start instilling that in them from, you know, because I don't know why I meet some mothers and they just say, just leave her, she's a child. This girl is 5 years old. She's a woman. You understand what I mean? Like in my mind, she even from the womb, you're already communicating with the baby. When she's born or when he's born, I don't think he's a newborn. I think you start counting. It's 9 months. When it comes out, it's 10 months because those children already understand you. They know how to work you. They know, and they come out as, you know, babies or whatever. But their mind, their brain is already functional.
Okay, just like Ibrahim actually said, you know, it takes a village to raise a child. And in this particular case, or in most cases, the parents can't do it alone because while they're out there hustling, the children are in school, and then it's left for the teachers to actually, you know, take over from where the parents actually dropped off. Now, in this particular case, they traveled out of Nigeria to Dubai, and according to the school, and you know, without supervision, by the way, from any of the parents, you know, because they trusted the teachers so much. And according to, you know, the reports, you know, the teachers actually did everything they could because I think lights out is 12, so the boys, the male students were actually lodged on the 10th floor, the female students were lodged on the second floor. Yes, so you know, lights out, they go around to check and make sure 12 because the teachers need to sleep themselves. So after that, after the lights out around 12, that was when the girl left her room and, you know, went to meet the boys. So should the teachers actually be blamed for this?
Yeah, I think so. Why? I don't think so. They should be. Because if the boys are sleeping, no matter their age, I want to believe these children are between the age of 10, 13, or 14. The male teacher should be sleeping in the same room with the boys. And a female teacher should be sleeping in the same room with the girls. So how would the female child leave the second floor and move up to the 10th floor into the boys' room without an adult's knowledge? It therefore means that there is something missing. Perhaps the children were left to sleep on their own and the teacher in a different place. The rule of handling children is no child must be left unattended to at any point in time. Once they are in your custody, they must never be left unattended to, even till the age of 16. And most especially because they had traveled out of their home, out of the school to another country. That is just a case of sexual harassment. What if something else had happened? What if these children were kidnapped? Or something. So I would say that the teachers should be blamed for that.
So generally speaking now, if the teachers were to be blamed for that particular incident, what particular role should teachers play in the lives of children, the moral bringing and the children's upbringing? You understand? Because mostly these days, just like we established, we don't get to spend a lot of time with our children. The children spend more time at school with their teachers than they do with us. What role can they play to be able to do that? And are our teachers now, are they equipped to actually play that role?
Thank you. The teachers are expected to play the same role as the parent.
Okay.
The role of the teacher is beyond academic upbringing. Schooling should be seen as a 7-dimensional face. It's not just about academics. So any teacher, anybody coming into the school to take up that responsibility should know that I should be a parent first, even before being a teacher. You remember those days when we were in school. In fact, you would rather disrespect your mom than disrespect your teacher. You don't want to try it. And you don't want your parents to go to school. No?
Mr. Mikey.
You don't want your parents to go to school to report you to your teacher. So that is to tell you that the teachers were just like our second parents. Now the question is, are the teachers of today equipped for that role? Those who were teachers in those days, they went through series of trainings. The teacher training college, they were so passionate. That was what they wanted to do. It was like a calling. It was a ministry for some of them. But today, most of the teachers we have in the schools and the classrooms are more of, well, this is a stepping stone. I don't have a job elsewhere. Let me just do this. Yes, thank you, that's the right word. Let me manage this. And when the problem is getting so much, I quit and I look for something else. That is the mentality of some. So it now becomes the role of the school, when you bring in a teacher, to first educate the teacher and let the teacher understand that taking up a job here is beyond you going to the classroom to teach the children. You're coming here to play the role of a parent. That's from the school. Now back to the home. It's getting tougher for the teachers as well, because your role or your duty will be easy if it's made easy from home. It's easier for me to relate and to help a child who has a very strong discipline from home. But if you have a child who is coming from an uninvolved parent, your work becomes more difficult. For instance, a child is coming to school with a mond hairstyle on the head. And then the teacher is there to say, maybe from the second week, the teacher has been asking, why are you with this? Make sure you don't come back with this. And don't be surprised, you can have a parent call the school and say, please, what's your problem with my child's hair? I'm not around. Nobody is there to do the hair. Please, just leave it. When I come back, I've traveled out of the country. When I come back, you know. And at that point, the teacher has nothing to do. I remember those days, if you try such, right there on the assembly ground, the teachers will ask you, lose that hair. In fact, if you meet teachers who are very strict, they will just pick up a scissors and cut it right there and then. If you cannot keep it neat, then cut it off.
But is that the right way to go? Because you're punishing a child for something that the mother was supposed to do.
That's not the right way to go.
It wasn't the right way. But then it helped. Then it wasn't the right way. We are punishing the child for the offense that the mother committed, right? But because I have punished you as a child, even if your mom is not there to do it for you tomorrow, you won't wait.
Somebody. Okay, now we've actually talked about a lot about uninvolved parents. Now you'd agree with me, Adana, that back in the day, our parents, struggled. They didn't have anything. They probably came from humble beginnings, and now that they have it, they want their children, to experience a different kind of life, and have everything they want. Is that one of the reasons for the moral laxity, giving children, everything they want when they ask for, giving them access to, to watch whatever they want on TV, and all that.
I didn't
So, and in
enjoy
this
all those,
case,
so my
yes,
children
exactly.
can miss it as well.
And in this case, should the parents, because a lot of people are saying no, the parents should not be blamed, and everything, should the parents be blamed for whatever thing the child does?
Well, I think society, should be blamed to an extent, because a lot of things have changed. Like I said, things were a bit easier then. They will say Nigeria used to work at some point, and some people will say they didn't even need to travel out to go to the hospitals. The hospitals here were great. It's like my mom that was in the UK and came back to give birth to me here. We're still settling that issue. So, she was like, everything was fine. I was like, foresight. But so I mean, things were, from what I've heard, things were great, and nobody really saw this. But I think, like I said, I don't want to just put the blame on the family or the parents, because, we also have a political decay in the society. I mean, I studied global development in Africa, so you're talking about the political economy of Nigeria. You find that a lot of things have been, the decay is really, really bad, in the political systems. If you go to the government offices and all of that, you're going to see a lot of things, that people cannot relate with or wouldn't have been able to relate with back then. So now you see senators, people who are struggling to sell their soul to get into politics, because once you touch it, you don't hammer. Anyhow, just even if it's 1 year, you stay there. You know that your life will change, and at least you build house in the village. So people will kill to go into the things. Why am I saying this? Because it has created a false lifestyle. Now you go on social media. We can't take social media out of all the problems we're facing in society. It is one of the major problems. Parents have failed, but social media is actually amplifying the failure of all these parents. Now you have senators and all those people posting expensive luxurious houses online, luxurious cars,
especially influencers,
flashing. Everybody wants to show the best lifestyle on social media, and sometimes in most cases it is fake. People want to travel and take pictures in different places in Dubai and claim it is around their house, or they want to, so it's a lot of false impression going on in the society, and social media has really amplified these things. So you have the younger ones who now have access to social media, looking up to these people as role models. And the thing is that these people don't even come out and say what or how they've really made their money. They create a false impression. So now what you do is that you come and post a picture of yourself standing next to a Bentley and saying, God has been faithful. Okay, now we don't really understand that. But a young person, if young girl in her, like for instance, these ones that are 10 years who now have access to social media, and I don't understand that, are seeing these people and saying, wow, so it's God that did this. Not everybody is going to be rich. Not everybody must be rich. Like you said, teachers should be passionate and should want to do the work. You know what I mean? It's not about the money. The money comes fine, but like me, what I do is all about my passion. It's about my passion, but not everybody is passionate about what they do, and that's part of the problem in society right now. So you have these people creating these false impressions, and people are just, these younger ones are just looking up to them every day. As soon as they post, 10 seconds in, they have 5,000 likes, 10,000 comments. Come on. That's the community now. It takes a word to build a what?
The society.
Now that is the community we have. Unfortunately, it's a negative one, and it's having very negative impact on the younger generation. So these people now, they just want to make money. They just want money. They don't want to. They're not thinking about, oh, what do I love to do, or would I love to paint, or would I love to sing, or would I love to know. Everybody just wants to fast food system. Everybody. So, but everybody's contributing. The parents are failing. Society is failing. Social media is failing. Everything is contributing to the failure in the society. So, in those days, your aunties, even when your mom wasn't there, your aunties will give you the beating that your mother would. At least they will match up to that level of beating, and then when she comes, they'll tell them, they'll give the information of what you did. And your mother will now join the beating. In fact, then my dad will tell you, go and get a cane for yourself. But he has even gotten a cane for you already. When he finishes that cane, he will now use that one. Do you understand? Then he will now come and say sorry.
So it was actually interesting. It's actually interesting that she brought the issue of beating, because that was where I was heading to. Because every one of us here has been on the end of a whooping. Yes, and a serious whooping. You understand? Most especially in school. And the worst part is, you get whooped in school and you dare not come home and tell them that you got whooped.
You can't.
Because they'll ask you, why did you get whooped? You must have done something. You understand? That means another one. But now, we have situations whereby a teacher raises his voice to a child. Child comes back home crying. Mother removes her this thing and ties it here and goes to school to challenge the teacher publicly and call him or her out for raising his voice as a child. You talked about having the right environment as a teacher to actually make your job easier when you have it from home. How bad is this for child upbringing?
It's terribly bad. I'll share an experience of a child who was found to, I think the child just hits a child. It's a male child. She's about 9 years old. Hits a female child intentionally on the buttocks. Like, it was just playing. The girl child came to report, and the male child was cautioned, and then he repeated it again. Repeating the act again and involving another male child, that sends a signal. And what the school did was, at this point, we would not only counsel the child, we would have to invite the parent and let them know that this child is beginning to do this. Watch out. According to the school policy, if a child is found guilty of this kind of offense, the child will be given a 1-week reflective suspension. So you have to go home, you have to think about what you have done. And this child went on the suspension. And the next thing was that by the time the school was resuming back, this child didn't resume back to the school. Why? The parent said, because my child was accused of sexual harassment. The school was going to say, okay, now teacher so and so, because you are the one who made this parent not to come back, because you are the one who raised this issue, you might have to leave as well. Because you have made us to lose.
Not focusing on the business.
So you can see that it's a whole lot of tension in the school and on the teacher. So sometimes, even though I had said earlier that the teachers are to be blamed, but now the teachers also are becoming very mindful of what they do. Okay, right now, even if I'm managing this, I don't want to lose this anytime soon. So, back to the question, what harm is it doing? A lot of harm is being done to the child. While I was thinking about that incident, I looked at the child. The school has lost, the teacher might have lost, but what has happened to that child? The child has been subconsciously taught that you can do whatever you like to do. And no one should raise alarm. No one there corrects you. If someone corrects you, then you can react to that. And subconsciously, the parent might not have sat the child down and explained all of this, but the child has gotten that lesson from there, and that is what the child grows up with, and that's what is going back to the society. So when we are talking about society, I still remain on the point that it starts from the home. The teachers need to understand, if going forward, we need to understand that if this is what we truly want to do, you need to do it and do it well. We cannot beat them because of modernization. But you know, sometimes we'll say that the only way to get something straight to an African child is through the whip. We are not our makeup is different. So if you want to get something straight to an African child, even if you don't hit that child, let the child see it dangling like this. It sends a signal. But the school is saying, take that out completely. The home is saying, don't dare it. Even parents would come to school and tell you that, no. If my child does something wrong, please make sure you discipline the child. You will think twice before you do it.
I think one of the reasons, you know, some schools actually gave for removing, you know, that flogging is the fact that, like you have said, you know, most teachers, you know, are in it for, you know, their take home. And then in most cases, these teachers end up, you know, pouring out their frustrations on the students, even if it's not, you know, necessary. And in such cases, would you say the teacher is actually disciplining the child?
By flogging the child?
Yes.
Discipline is not about flogging. You don't have to flog a child all the time to discipline the child. Just a statement could be enough to correct a child. But like you rightly mentioned, some teachers might use that as a form of transfer of aggression. I remember that those days as well, it was not all the teachers who would beat you. I know that there are times that when you know this specific teacher, that this teacher, my case must not get to this teacher.
Mr. Makisu.
Once your case gets to this teacher, you know that you're in for flogging. Some other teachers would not do that. So the same thing can still be there. Like I run a school and I tell the students that no teacher will beat you, but I have this whip in my office. Your case must not get to me. If your case gets to me, then I'm going to have to bring it out. So, you know, even the teachers can tell them, don't worry, just keep doing it. By the time I take your case up, and
I remember back then, you know, they would flog you, but then our principal would actually, you know, have creative ways of punishing you as well. You know, punishment. Yes. So, what other solutions are there, you know, for cases like this?
You know, while she was speaking, I was actually thinking about it. I think people just, the problem with flogging, it's no real problem. The problem with it is that you flog a child and she still doesn't know what she's done wrong. So you find that, you know, they just flog you to the point that you just cry for the rest of the day, you know, and they feel that they've done something to you because they can see your tears. No. What you're doing, like this Chrisland and whatever, I heard that they said the mom flogs her a lot, you know, like I can imagine, because she comes back home, she gets a report, she beats the girl or whatever. I don't know the story. But if that's the case, then maybe while you flog the child, you should also sit the child down and have a conversation with them, let them know what they've done wrong. And you see, sometimes talking to them about it is more effective than even flogging them, you know. Because if you keep flogging a child every day, she's just going to become hard. That's why we have a lot of stubborn people, strong-headed people. Because you flog them. In fact, even some of them, when it's time to be flogged, they will just...
Is it not flogging?
It's not going to enter. So you can imagine that it ends up creating another problem. So flogging, to what extent and why? You know, so I can understand why they will stop that, because it can be abused. And trust me, a lot of people are frustrated. Some of these teachers are very frustrated. This country has frustrated people. You know, when you see their shoes, you know that this teacher is frustrated. You know, you don't. This teacher cannot flog my child because you know she will leave a mark on the child. So I think there's different dimensions to it. But I think again, like she said, there has to be other ways, creative ways, and I think the teachers need to be put, you know, through all of this, because if there's a school with standards, like me, I don't mind. Flog the child. But I know that you have a standard, and I know that there is a way you flog the child. You know what I mean? You're not flogging the child out of anger, out of annoyance, but out of love. You're talking about the school, the teachers being part of the family as well. I mean this for your future. I'm doing this because I want you to grow up to be a better person. I'm doing this because of this and that. So
basically, both the parents and the teachers need to be a team.
Yes.
In order for this to work.
And society as well.
And then, of course, we need creative ways to be able to resolve these issues.
Yes.
And then have the best for our children.
Is it okay for me to just talk about how schools have been commercialized right now? Because, you know, that is a big problem, you know, and I think when I'm talking about how it's been commercialized, because you find that the owners of the school don't even visit the schools. They just put somebody there and they're out, right? It's just about the money. Now, how do you even know what the teachers are doing when you're not even invested in the school as a school owner? You know, maybe you're a senator, you have too much money. Next thing, someone just advises you, oh, just build a school. And you just build the school, but you're not there. You know, so these things are, you know, I think these are real issues. There has to be standards. Who is monitoring the schools? What's the body that looks over the schools in the? I mean, there has to be standards. If you own a school, you should be there for a certain number of hours a week. You shouldn't just leave it to, you know, to
You should even be involved.
teachers. Yes, and if you keep neglecting the school and the children there. The school should be taken from you and given to, just like how is it ABCON, or which one goes and takes over? Yes, let them have a. That's very important, so that they can maintain it, because that is the age where they learn. That is a very important age where these children are growing. We went to a school one time, and then nobody was even in the admin office. It was just total chaos.
So basically, even running a school or being a proprietor should actually be a passionate thing. Just like we talked about the teachers being passionate about what they do.
If you have no business,
it shouldn't just be a business. It shouldn't be a business.
It's like a hospital. If you have no business trying to help people who are sick, why are you even there?
I mean, even businesses, you need to be passionate about it for it to actually grow.
Right.
Okay, so thank you so much, Adana and Wezo, for joining us on the show today. And thank you so much, Mrs. Wadia
Ojibara.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much for joining us as well.
So we got it wrong.
That's inquiry.
Yes.
So we got it wrong.
Yes, you did.
Apologies. Sincere apologies.
We hope to have you on the show again. Yeah, you know, we've had you, you know, once before, but we hope to have you again. Thank you so much. That was really insightful.